The morning sky over New York City turned dark as shadows fell across the streets. People stopped walking and looked up. Cars pulled over. Everyone pointed at the sky with open mouths. Massive ships floated above the city. They were bigger than anything humans had ever built. The ships were smooth and silver with strange blue lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. More ships appeared over London, Tokyo, Moscow, and every major city around the world. Maria Santos was drinking coffee in her apartment when the ships arrived. She dropped her mug and ran to the window. The ship above her building was so big, she could not see where it ended. Her phone buzzed with emergency alerts, but the messages were all the same. Stay calm. Unknown aircraft over major cities. Military responding. But the military did not need to respond. The ships were not attacking. 3 hours later, every television, radio, and internet device on Earth received the same message. The voice was calm and spoke perfect English, then repeated in every human language. People of Earth, we are the Galactic Protection Coalition. We come in peace to offer you safety. The image that appeared showed 3 different types of beings. The first looked almost human but taller, with pale blue skin and large, dark eyes. The second was covered in thick armor and had 4 arms. The third seemed to be made of energy, shifting and glowing like a living star. I am High Protector Velthar of the Zephyrian people, said the blue-skinned being. With me are Commander Thrak of the Thrakari Warriors and Mindweaver Nexus of the Nexari Collective. We have watched your world for some time. President Morrison sat in the White House Situation Room with his advisors. General Hayes leaned forward and whispered, Sir, our satellites show over 300 ships worldwide. Our weapons cannot reach them at that altitude. Velthar continued speaking. Your species is young. You have made progress, but you face a threat beyond your understanding. The Void Swarm approaches this part of the galaxy. They have destroyed 17 star systems in the past 100 of your years. Nothing survives their passage. The screen showed images that made everyone watching feel cold inside. Planets that were empty and gray. Star systems with no life. Whole worlds turned to dust. We offer protection, Velthar said. We can relocate your people to safe worlds under our shield. We can defend those who remain here, but you must accept our help quickly. The swarm will reach this sector in 50 of your Earth cycles. Around the world, government leaders held emergency meetings. Phone calls flew between capitals. Some nations were ready to accept immediately. Others wanted to know more. Dr. Sarah Chen sat in a deep underground facility in Colorado. The room around her had no windows and thick concrete walls. Maps and computer screens covered every surface. Other scientists and engineers worked at stations around the main floor. What do you think, Sarah? Asked General Peterson, who ran the facility. Sarah studied the alien broadcast on her screen. She had been working on the TerraVault project for 15 years. It was humanity's deepest secret, a plan for survival that most world leaders did not even know existed. They seem genuine about the threat, she said. But look at how they talk about us. Young species. Limited technology. They see us as children who need protection. Maybe we do, said Dr. Kim, one of her team members. Sarah shook her head. Maybe. Or maybe they just do not know what we are really capable of. The facility around them was part of a network that stretched across the globe. Hidden bases connected by quantum communication systems. Research projects that had been running since the 1990s. Technologies that no one outside the project knew existed. 3 days after the initial broadcast, the world's leaders gave their responses. The United Nations held a special session that was broadcast globally. Secretary General Okafor stood at the podium. The nations of Earth have considered the coalition's offer. Many of our people will accept relocation to your protected worlds. We are grateful for your warning and your offer of safety. Velthar appeared on the screen again. This is wise. We will begin preparations immediately. However, Okafor continued, some of our people choose to remain on Earth. We hope you will respect this decision. The alien's large eyes seemed confused. You understand the danger? Your weapons cannot stop the swarm. Your technology is limited. Why would you choose to stay? Because this is our home, Okafor said simply. Commander Thrak, the four-armed warrior, spoke for the first time. His voice was deep and rough. Brave but foolish. We have seen what the swarm does to brave species, but we will protect those who, remain. Over the following weeks, the Coalition began their work. Massive transport ships arrived to take volunteers to Coalition worlds. About 30% of Earth's population chose to leave. Families were divided. Some went for safety. Others stayed because they could not leave their home planet. The aliens also began building defense stations in orbit around Earth. They said the stations would create a protective shield that the swarm could not break through. Human scientists were allowed to observe, but not to help with the construction. Dr. Martinez from NASA watched the aliens work. Their technology is amazing, she told reporters. They can manipulate matter at the molecular level. They build with materials we do not even have names for. But the aliens would not share their technology. Your minds are not ready for such knowledge, Velthar explained. It would be dangerous for you to try to use what you cannot understand. In her underground facility, Sarah Chen watched the construction through secret telescopes. Her team had been studying the alien ships since they arrived, using sensors the Coalition did not know existed. They are impressive, she admitted to General Peterson. But their technology follows rules we understand. Physics is physics, even for aliens. Are you saying we could build something like that? The general asked. Sarah smiled. General, we have been building something like that. We just have not shown anyone yet. The TerraVault project had been started after scientists detected strange signals from deep space in the early 2000s. The signals suggested something was destroying star systems far away. Earth's governments decided to prepare for the worst. But they kept the project completely secret. Hidden facilities had been built all over the world. Technologies had been developed based on theoretical physics that most people thought was just science fiction. Weapons, ships, and defense systems had been designed and tested in complete secrecy. The public saw humanity as a primitive species just starting to explore space. The aliens saw the same thing. Neither knew about the hidden bases on the dark side of the moon, or the antimatter engines that had been tested in deep space, or the quantum computers that had been running complex war simulations for decades. As the Coalition continued their protection work, they began to restrict human activities. Space flights beyond Earth's moon were forbidden. Too dangerous with the swarm approaching, they said. Military exercises were stopped. Your weapons might interfere with our systems, they explained. The aliens meant well, but they treated humans like children who needed to be kept safe. They did not ask what humans wanted. They decided what was best and expected humans to be grateful. Most people were grateful. The aliens had saved them from a terrible threat. But others began to feel trapped in their own world. Sarah Chen was not grateful. She was waiting. In hidden facilities across Earth, thousands of humans continued their secret work. They studied every piece of alien technology they could observe. They analyzed every communication between Coalition ships. They prepared for possibilities the aliens had not considered. How long until the swarm arrives? General Peterson asked during one of their weekly meetings. About 47 months, Sarah replied, checking her calculations. Plenty of time to complete Phase 7. And if the Coalition's protection fails? Sarah looked at the screens showing her global network of hidden bases. Teams of humans working on projects that could change the course of galactic history. Technologies that could surprise anyone who thought they knew what humans could do. Then they will discover what happens when you underestimate a species that has been preparing for war longer than they have been watching us, she said quietly. Above ground, the coalition continued their protection work. Below ground, humanity continued its real work, and the Void Swarm continued its approach through the darkness of space. 2 years had passed since the coalition arrived. Life on Earth looked peaceful, but it felt different. Marcus Thompson walked through Central Park in New York City, looking up at the alien patrol ships that floated silently overhead. The ships were smaller than the massive vessels that had first appeared, but they were always there. Watching. Protecting, the aliens said. Marcus missed his sister Amy. She had been one of the first to accept relocation to Kepler 442b, a coalition world that they said was like Earth, but safer. Her last message had been cheerful. The coalition worlds were comfortable, she said. Clean air, perfect weather, no crime. But something in her voice had sounded flat, like she was reading from a script. The relocated humans are adapting well, High Protector Velthar had announced in his monthly broadcast. They are learning valuable skills and contributing to coalition society. They are safe from the approaching danger. But the coalition never showed live footage of the human colonies, only recorded messages and carefully produced videos. When Marcus tried to send a real-time video call to his sister, the system always said, "Connection unavailable due to security protocols." On Earth, the changes had been gradual but constant. First, the coalition had offered to upgrade Earth's internet with their technology. The new system was faster and more reliable, but human tech companies noticed that certain types of research websites had become impossible to access. Security filters, the aliens explained, to protect you from dangerous information. Then they had upgraded the power grid. Clean, unlimited energy from fusion reactors that humans could not understand or maintain, but the old power plants were shut down, and humans were no longer allowed to build new ones. No need for primitive energy sources, Commander Thrak had said. Dr. Elena Vasquez worked at the International Space Station, which had been expanded with coalition technology. She watched Earth through the new viewing ports that gave an incredibly clear view of the planet below. But she also watched the coalition ships that surrounded Earth's orbit. There are more ships now than when they first arrived, she told her colleague Dr. Okafor during their private communication channel. I have counted at least 500, Dr. Okafor replied. They say it is for our protection, but why do we need so many guards? Elena had noticed something else. The coalition ships were not just watching for external threats. Their sensors were pointed toward Earth as much as toward space. They were watching the humans, too. Down on Earth, the restrictions had grown stronger. Human military forces had been temporarily suspended, while the coalition handled all defense needs. Soldiers were retrained for civilian jobs or allowed to join coalition security forces in non-combat roles. Your weapons are ineffective against the coming threat, Velthar had explained. Better to use your people's talents in ways that will actually help. Scientific research had been redirected toward approved fields. Agriculture, entertainment, basic medicine, and environmental cleanup were encouraged. But research into physics, chemistry, space technology, and advanced materials was discouraged or blocked entirely. We do not want you to accidentally create something dangerous, the Nexari Collective had said through their energy being representative. Young species often hurt themselves when they advance too quickly. Dr. James Wu had been a nuclear physicist before the coalition arrived. Now he worked on improving crop yields. The work was important, but he missed the excitement of pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. It feels like being treated like a child, he complained to his wife during dinner. They pat us on the head and give us simple tasks while they handle the real work. Maybe they know what they are doing, his wife replied. They have been traveling between stars for thousands of years. We have barely been to our own moon. But Dr. Wu remembered what humans had accomplished in just 50 years of space exploration, from the first satellite to landing on the moon, from simple computers to artificial intelligence. Humans learned fast when they were allowed to try. 3,000 miles away, in her underground facility in Colorado, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the conversation through surveillance systems that the coalition had never detected. Her team had been monitoring human reactions to the alien occupation for 2 years. "Morale is declining," reported Dr. Kim, her chief psychologist. "People are grateful for the protection, but they feel helpless. Human achievement has basically stopped." Sarah nodded. She had expected this. The coalition meant well, but they did not understand human nature. Humans needed challenges. They needed to build, explore, and discover. Without those needs being met, humans became depressed and passive. "What about the relocated populations?" Sarah asked. Dr. Kim pulled up classified reports that their agents had gathered. "Worse, the coalition worlds are comfortable but restrictive. Humans there are given jobs, housing, and entertainment, but no real freedom. No ability to make meaningful choices. Our people are becoming like pets." Sarah felt angry but not surprised. The coalition saw humans as primitive beings who needed care and protection. They did not see humans as equals who could contribute to galactic civilization, but the coalition had made a crucial mistake. They thought they understood human technology because they had observed Earth's public achievements. They saw chemical, rockets, nuclear power, and electronic computers. They concluded that humans were thousands of years behind coalition science. They had no idea what humans had been building in secret. The TerraVault project had continued its work throughout the 2 years of coalition protection. While the aliens watched Earth's surface and restricted human activities, the secret facilities had been expanding and advancing at an incredible pace. "Status report," Sarah said, during the weekly secure meeting with project leaders around the world. "Quantum Stabilization Network is at 95% completion," reported Dr. Yamamoto from the Japan facility. "We can now create stability fields covering an area the size of Earth's entire atmosphere. Antimatter production is ahead of schedule," added Dr. Petrov from the Siberian base. "We have enough fuel for 300 ships and their weapon systems." "Manufacturing facilities are ready," said Dr. Brown from the Australian facility. "We can produce 100 ships per month once we begin full production." Sarah smiled. The coalition thought they were protecting a primitive world with limited technology. Instead, they were guarding a species that had been preparing for galactic warfare longer than the coalition had been watching them. The secret had been maintained through careful planning and human psychology. The TerraVault project recruited people who had lost family members to space accidents, cosmic radiation, or other dangers of early space exploration. These people understood that the universe was dangerous and that humanity needed to be prepared for anything. "My daughter died when her space shuttle was hit by a micrometeorite," General Peterson had told Sarah when she first joined the project. "If we had better technology, better protection, she would still be alive. I will not let that happen to our entire species." Thousands of humans worked on the project, but they were scattered across dozens of facilities and hundreds of research sites. No single person except Sarah knew the full scope of what they were building. Even the coalition's advanced sensors could not detect activities that were hidden deep underground and shielded by quantum technology. The aliens had made another mistake. They assumed that because human governments had accepted their help, all humans were willing to be protected. They did not realize that human governments had been secretly preparing for this moment for decades. President Morrison met with Sarah once a month in a secure facility beneath the White House. "How much longer do we wait?" he asked during their latest meeting. "The swarm will arrive in approximately 18 months, Sarah replied. "We continue the facade until they do. Let the coalition think they are protecting helpless humans. Let them focus on their defensive preparations. And if their defenses work, If they actually stop the swarm? Sarah had considered this possibility. Then we reveal nothing, and humanity remains under their protection. But if their defenses fail, then we show them what humans can really do, President Morrison finished. On the surface, life continued under coalition protection. Humans worked their assigned jobs, lived in their safe cities, and thanked their alien protectors. Children went to schools where they learned approved subjects. Adults watched entertainment that had been cleared by coalition censors. But in hidden facilities around the world and on the dark side of the moon, humans worked on projects that would shock the galaxy. Ships that could travel faster than anything the coalition had ever built. Weapons that could destroy targets the size of planets. Defense systems that could protect entire star systems. The coalition had spent 2 years teaching humans that they were weak and needed protection. They had no idea that they were actually teaching the most dangerous species in the galaxy to hide its true nature. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in her command center, looking at screens that showed the progress of humanity's real work. In 18 months, they would learn if the coalition's protection was enough to stop the void swarm. If it was not, the galaxy would discover what happens when you underestimate a species that had been preparing for war while pretending. The first warning came from the coalition's deep space sensors at 3:47 a.m. Earth time. Dr. Sarah Chen was asleep in her quarters beneath the Colorado facility when the emergency alert woke her. She had been expecting this moment for years, but her heart still raced as she read the message on her secure tablet. Long-range sensors detect massive disturbance approaching outer system. Coalition forces moving to intercept all Earth facilities to maintain security protocols. Sarah dressed quickly and made her way to the command center. Her staff was already at their stations, monitoring feeds from coalition ships and tracking the approaching threat. "What do we know?" she asked Dr. Kim, who was coordinating intelligence gathering. "The coalition detected them 18 hours ago, but did not inform Earth governments until now," Dr. Kim replied. "Based on sensor data, we estimate the swarm fleet at over 10,000 ships." Sarah studied the readings on her screens. The approaching vessels were unlike anything in coalition records. They were organic, seeming to grow and shift as they moved through space. Worse, they were moving in coordinated patterns that suggested high intelligence. "This is not the mindless, consuming force the coalition described," she said quietly. "High." Protector Velthar's face appeared on every communication device on Earth at 6 a.m. For the first time since his arrival, the alien looked worried. "People of Earth, the Void Swarm has entered your solar system. Our deep space defense platforms are engaging them now. Do not be afraid. Our shields will protect you." But the confidence in his voice seemed forced. Sarah had learned to read alien expressions over the past 2 years, and Velthar's large eyes showed something she had never seen before: uncertainty. The first battle took place near Pluto. Coalition ships met the swarm in a massive engagement that lit up the outer solar system with weapon fire and explosions. For 6 hours, it seemed like the coalition's superior technology would win. Then everything changed. "The swarm ships are adapting," reported Dr. Petrov from the monitoring station. "Every time the coalition uses a weapon successfully, the next wave of swarm ships is immune to it." Sarah watched in fascination as the battle data showed the impossible. The swarm was learning in real time, not just copying coalition tactics, but improving on them. Within hours, swarm ships were using coalition weapon technology better than the coalition itself. "They are not just consuming civilizations," Sarah realized. "They are absorbing their knowledge and capabilities." The coalition's first defense line broke after 12 hours. Hundreds of alien ships were destroyed or captured by the swarm, who seemed to dissolve the metal hulls and absorb the technology directly into their organic vessels. Commander Thrax's voice came over coalition communication channels, speaking to his scattered forces. "All units, fall back to the secondary defense line at Saturn. Do not allow them to capture more of our technology." But it was already too late. The swarm had learned everything they needed from the first battle. The second engagement at Saturn lasted only 4 hours. The swarm ships now used improved versions of coalition weapons, plus new capabilities that seemed to bend the laws of physics. They created fields that made coalition ships simply disappear, or twisted space so that alien weapons fired on their own forces. Sarah watched the battle through long-range telescopes hidden on Earth's dark side. "They are manipulating space-time itself," she said in amazement. "That should be impossible with organic technology, unless they have absorbed the knowledge of species more advanced than the Coalition," Dr. Kim suggested. The thought was terrifying. How many civilizations had the swarm consumed? How much knowledge had they gained? The Coalition had described them as a destructive force, but they were clearly something far worse, a force that became stronger with every civilization they destroyed. By the time the swarm reached Jupiter, the Coalition was in full retreat. Their most advanced warships were being torn apart by their own technology, turned against them by an enemy that learned faster than they could adapt. High Protector Velthar's second broadcast to Earth came as swarm ships entered the inner solar system. "The enemy is more advanced than our intelligence indicated. We are falling back to Earth's orbital defense platforms. All humans should move to underground shelters immediately." But his third broadcast, just 6 hours later, was his last. "We underestimated their evolution. They learn from every encounter. Our colonies, all gone. The shield worlds have fallen, silent. Earth's orbital platforms cannot hold them. We cannot. The pattern recognition systems are failing. They are adapting faster than we can respond. Earth is lost. We cannot." The transmission ended in static as swarm ships reached Earth's orbit. Sarah stood in her command center, watching as coalition ships fled or were destroyed by the approaching organic vessels. The aliens' mighty defense platforms, which had protected Earth for 2 years, went dark one by one as swarm technology infiltrated and shut down their systems. "All coalition forces in retreat or destroyed," reported Dr. Yamamoto. "Swarm ships are surrounding Earth. Estimated count, over 300 vessels." The swarm ships were beautiful in a terrifying way. They looked like living things made of dark metal and energy, pulsing with lights that seemed to show their heartbeat. As they took positions around Earth, they began emitting fields that disrupted all remaining coalition technology on the planet. Cars stopped working. Lights went out. The communication systems that had connected Earth to the galactic community fell silent. It seemed like the end of human civilization. But in underground facilities around the world, different systems were powering up. Systems that the Coalition had never detected. Systems that had been built by humans who understood that the universe was full of dangers that required more than hope and trust to survive. Sarah's secure communication network came online, connecting her to hidden facilities across the globe. One by one, her team leaders reported in. Australian facility operational, all systems green. Siberian base ready, antimatter reactors at full power. Japanese facility online, quantum networks active. Lunar base 7 responding. Ship production facility ready for launch authorization. Sarah looked at the screens showing swarm ships descending toward Earth's atmosphere. The aliens had expected to find a primitive world protected by Coalition technology. Instead, they were about to encounter something that no one in the galaxy had ever seen. Humans who had been preparing for this exact scenario for over 20 years. "All stations, this is command. Execute Protocol 7. Authorization, Terra Prime." Around the world, camouflaged installations that had looked like hills, forests, and rock formations began to change. Massive doors opened in the ground, hidden. Facilities revealed themselves as launch sites, weapon platforms, and command centers. On the dark side of the moon, manufacturing facilities that had been building in secret for years opened their doors. Ships that looked nothing like human technology began to emerge, sleek and deadly, powered by antimatter engines and equipped with weapons that could tear holes in space-time itself. The swarm had learned to counter Coalition technology by observing it in battle. But they had never seen human technology. They had never encountered a species that had spent decades preparing for galactic warfare while pretending to be primitive and helpless. Dr. Sarah Chen activated the global communication system that connected every human facility on Earth and beyond. This is Terra Command to all stations. The Coalition's protection has failed, as we expected it might. Now we show the galaxy what humans do when our survival is threatened. She paused, looking at the readings that showed swarm ships moving into Earth's atmosphere, confident that they were about to consume another helpless world. Phase 1 complete. We have remained hidden and prepared while studying our enemies. Phase 2 begins now. All units, engage the enemy. Let them learn what happens when they threaten a species that has been hunting since before they learned to use tools. The first human ships launched from hidden sites around the world, rising to meet the swarm with technology that had been designed specifically to counter everything the aliens could do. The swarm expected to find primitive humans hiding behind failed Coalition defenses. Instead, they found predators who had been patiently waiting for the perfect moment to begin the hunt. The real battle for Earth was about to begin, and for the first time in their conquest of the galaxy, the Void Swarm was about to learn what it felt like to be prey. The first swarm bioship to enter Earth's atmosphere discovered that something was wrong when its reality-warping abilities simply stopped working. Commander Vex-High, leading the advance force, tried to activate the space-time manipulation systems that had made them unstoppable against Coalition forces. The organic controls under his clawed hands pulsed with energy, but nothing happened. The ship continued to fall through Earth's atmosphere using only conventional momentum. "Hive mind, report anomaly," he signaled to the swarm network. "Quantum manipulation systems non-functional. Space-time distortion fields offline." The response came back immediately from thousands of connected minds. Confirmed across all units. Local space-time locked to standard physics. Unknown interference source. What the swarm did not know was that they had entered the largest quantum stabilization field ever constructed. For 20 years, Dr. Sarah Chen's teams had been building a network of generators that could force space-time back to normal physics across an entire planet. The generators were hidden in every major mountain range, deep ocean trench, and polar ice sheet on Earth. They were powered by fusion reactors that the Coalition had never detected, disguised as geological formations and natural mineral deposits. In her command center, Sarah watched as swarm ships suddenly became vulnerable to conventional physics. "All stations, confirm quantum lock status." "Australia reporting full field strength," came Dr. Yamamoto's voice. "Siberian generators at maximum output," added Dr. Petrov. "Atlantic deep-sea array online," reported Dr. Martinez. Sarah smiled grimly. The Coalition had thought they were protecting a primitive world with limited technology. The swarm expected to find helpless humans hiding behind failed alien defenses. Neither had suspected that humans had spent decades preparing for exactly this scenario. All facilities begin Phase 2, launch the fleet. Across Earth's surface, what had looked like natural hills and rock formations began to split open. Massive launch bays revealed themselves, filled with ships unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The human vessels were not the bulky, crude rockets that the Coalition had observed during their 2-year stay. These ships were sleek and predatory, built from materials that could survive the destruction of stars. They were powered by contained antimatter reactions and equipped with weapons that turned theoretical physics into tools of war. Captain Lisa Chen, daughter of Dr. Sarah Chen, sat in the command chair of the flagship Terra's Wrath as it launched from the Colorado facility. She had been training for this moment her entire life. First in secret schools that officially did not exist, then in combat simulations that prepared her for fighting enemies with capabilities beyond human experience. "All squadrons report ready," came the voice of Squadron Leader Martinez over the communication system. "Copy that. Remember, these ships are not like coalition vessels. They adapt to whatever they encounter, so we do not give them time to learn. Hit fast, hit hard, and keep moving." Lisa had studied every piece of intelligence gathered about the swarm during their approach to Earth. They were more than just destructive. They were intelligent, adaptive, and they learned from every engagement. But they had never encountered humans before. The first engagement took place 50 kilometers above the Pacific Ocean. 12 swarm bioships found themselves surrounded by 30 human vessels that moved like nothing they had ever fought. Hurrah! Swarm ships tried to use the tactics that had destroyed coalition forces: energy absorption, matter conversion, and adaptive shielding. But human weapons were designed around different principles entirely. Instead of energy beams that could be absorbed, human ships fired concentrated gravity wells that crushed targets regardless of their defenses. Instead of matter disruption, rays that could be adapted to, they used quantum disruption fields that broke the bonds between atoms at the subatomic level. The swarm bioship that Lisa targeted tried to adapt its armor to resist her weapons, but her ship's quantum disruptors did not attack the armor. They attacked the quantum forces that held the ship's atoms together. The massive vessel simply came apart, its organic technology unable to maintain coherence when the fundamental forces of physics were disrupted. "Target destroyed," Lisa reported, moving to engage secondary targets. But the real surprise was not the weapons. It was how the humans fought. Coalition forces had used standard galactic tactics: formation flying, coordinated attacks, and defensive positioning. The swarm had learned to counter these approaches over centuries of galactic conquest. Human pilots flew like wolves hunting in a pack. They attacked from multiple directions simultaneously, forcing swarm ships to divide their attention. When a bioship adapted to one type of attack, a different human ship would hit it with a completely different weapon from an unexpected angle. When swarm vessels tried to coordinate their defense, human ships would suddenly scatter and regroup in new formations faster than the aliens could track. "This is impossible," Commander Vexhai transmitted to the swarm network as his ship came under attack from 5 directions at once. "They are using tactics that do not follow standard combat doctrine." The swarm had learned to fight civilized galactic species that followed predictable patterns of warfare. Humans had learned to fight by studying Earth's apex predators: wolves, sharks, lions, species that had evolved killing strategies over millions of years. Dr. Sarah Chen watched the battle from her command center, monitoring the engagement through sensors that tracked every human ship. "Status report," she called to her tactical coordinator. "First wave engagement successful. 12 swarm ships destroyed, 0 human losses. Enemy ships are attempting to adapt, but our rotating attack patterns are preventing effective learning." Sarah nodded. This was what they had trained for. The swarm could adapt to any single tactic, but humans did not use single tactics. They used chaos, unpredictability, and constant adaptation. The same strategies that had made them the dominant predators on Earth. In orbit above Earth, the main swarm fleet was beginning to realize that something was very wrong. The advance force that had entered Earth's atmosphere was being systematically destroyed by technology and tactics they had never encountered. Hive mind consensus. Unknown species has superior combat capability, came the analysis from the collective intelligence. Recommend immediate full-scale assault to prevent further learning by enemy forces. But the swarm made a crucial mistake. They assumed that the humans would fight like every other species they had encountered, with everything they had, all at once. Instead, the human fleet that rose to meet them in orbit was only the first wave. As 200 swarm bioships prepared, To attack what they thought was Earth's entire defense force, launch facilities around the globe began releasing the second wave, then the third, then the fourth. The coalition had counted maybe 50 human spacecraft during their 2-year observation of Earth. They had concluded that human space technology was primitive and limited. What they had not known was that humans had been building ships in hidden facilities on the dark side of the moon for over 15 years. Mass production facilities that could construct vessels faster than any organic species could reproduce. As the battle expanded into Earth's orbit, the swarm found themselves facing not 50 human ships, but 500, then 1,000, then 2,000. Every human vessel was equipped with weapons that attacked different fundamental forces of physics. Some disrupted quantum fields, others manipulated gravity on a local scale. Still others fired streams of antimatter that converted any matter they touched into pure energy. But the most devastating weapon was the humans themselves. Captain Rodriguez, leading the third wave attack, received a priority communication from Terra Command. Rodriguez, we are tracking a cluster of bioships attempting to retreat to the outer system. Do not let them escape. Copy, Command. Pursuing targets. The swarm ships were trying to flee Earth's gravity well to regroup and call for reinforcements. But human ships were faster, more maneuverable, and designed for exactly this type of pursuit. Rodriguez's squadron caught the fleeing bioships near Earth's moon and destroyed them with precision strikes that left no debris large enough to analyze. It was crucial that the swarm not be allowed to learn human technology the way they had learned coalition systems. All units, remember the primary directive, Sarah Chen broadcast to the entire human fleet. No enemy ship leaves this system alive. No technology samples can be allowed to reach the main swarm. We end this here. The battle for Earth had become a hunt, and for the first time in their expansion across the galaxy, the Void Swarm found themselves on the wrong end of it. As human ships continued to launch from hidden facilities around Earth and from the moon, the aliens began to understand a terrible truth. They had not discovered a primitive world protected by coalition technology. They had found the home world of a species that had been preparing for galactic warfare longer than the swarm had been, watching them. A species that had let aliens think they needed protection, while secretly building the most advanced military force in the galaxy. The swarm had come to Earth expecting to consume another helpless civilization. Instead, they had found predators, who had been patiently waiting for the perfect opportunity to begin hunting. The battle for Earth lasted 18 hours, but the outcome was decided in the first 2. Commander Vexahai, the swarm leader who had expected to consume another helpless world, found himself trapped in Earth's atmosphere as human ships systematically hunted down every bio-vessel in his fleet. His ship's organic armor, which had adapted to resist every coalition weapon, was useless against attacks that targeted the basic forces holding atoms together. Hive mind emergency protocol, he transmitted to the greater swarm network. Human, species more advanced than indicated. Request immediate reinforcement of... His transmission was cut short as Captain Lisa Chen's ship fired a quantum disruptor directly into his vessel's core. The bioship came apart at the molecular level, leaving nothing but scattered atoms drifting in Earth's atmosphere. But the most shocking discovery was not that humans had better weapons than the coalition. It was how they used them. High Protector. Velthar watched the battle from his retreating command ship at the edge of the solar system. His remaining forces were too damaged to help and too few to matter, but his sensors could still track what was happening near Earth. Impossible, he whispered, as his tactical display showed human ships moving in patterns no civilized species had ever used. The humans were not just defending their world, they were hunting. Swarm bioships that tried to retreat found themselves cut off by human vessels that had predicted their escape routes. Ships that attempted to hide were tracked down by sensors that could detect the quantum signatures of organic technology. Even ships that tried to surrender were destroyed before they could transmit their location to the main swarm fleet. They are not fighting a defensive battle, Velthar realized. They are conducting an extermination campaign. In her command center beneath Colorado, Dr. Sarah Chen coordinated the most complex military operation in human history. Screens around her showed the positions of over 3,000 human ships as they systematically eliminated every trace of swarm presence in Earth's solar system. "Status report from all sectors," she called. "Inner system clear," reported Captain Rodriguez. "No surviving swarm vessels detected within Mars orbit." "Outer system patrol reporting," came Captain Thompson's voice. "We have eliminated the last bio ship attempting to reach the edge of the system. No escapees." "Lunar Base 7 confirms," added the Moon Facility Commander. "Our deep space sensors show no swarm signals leaving the system. Complete containment achieved." Sarah nodded with satisfaction. The first rule of dealing with an adaptive enemy was to prevent them from learning your capabilities. Every swarm ship that escaped would carry information about human technology back to their main fleet. Therefore, no ship could be allowed to escape. "Begin Phase 3, she ordered. "Pursuit and elimination." What happened next shocked the surviving coalition forces and changed the course of galactic history. Instead of celebrating their victory and preparing defenses for the next swarm attack, human ships began leaving Earth's solar system, not retreating, but advancing, following the quantum trail left by the swarm fleet back toward their staging areas. Captain Lisa Chen commanded the 1st Pursuit Squadron as they tracked swarm bioships toward their forward base in the Proxima Centauri system. The aliens had expected humans to stay near their homeworld and wait for the next attack, like every other species in Coalition records. Instead, humans were taking the fight to the enemy. "This is Terra Fleet Command to all pursuit squadrons," came Dr. Chen's voice over the quantum communication system. "You are authorized to engage all swarm forces encountered. Priority is complete elimination of threat to Earth and human colonies." Lisa studied the sensor readings as her squadron approached the swarm staging area. "Tactical. What are we looking at?" "Approximately 50 bioships around a converted asteroid base," replied her tactical officer. "They appear to be processing captured coalition technology and preparing for another assault on Earth." "Copy that. All squadrons, attack formation Sierra. Remember, no survivors, no escapees." The attack on the swarm staging base revealed another aspect of human warfare that no galactic species had ever seen: industrial-scale violence. Humans did not fight wars the way other species did, with limited engagements and formal rules. They fought wars the way they had evolved to hunt, with overwhelming force, perfect coordination, and absolute determination to eliminate threats to their survival. The 50 swarm bioships at Proxima Centauri were destroyed in 37 minutes. The asteroid base was reduced to component atoms. Every piece of captured coalition technology was recovered or destroyed to prevent the swarm from using it against other species, but the humans did not stop there. "Command, this is Chen. Base secured and eliminated. Requesting permission to continue. Pursuit. We have detected quantum signatures leading toward the Barnard star system." "Permission granted," came her mother's voice from Earth. "All squadrons are authorized for deep space operations. Hunt them down." What followed was something the galaxy had never witnessed: a systematic campaign by one species to completely eliminate another. Human ships, built in hidden facilities and equipped with technology developed in secret for over 20 years, began appearing throughout swarm-controlled space. They moved faster than bioships, hit harder than any coalition weapon, and used tactics that made adaptation impossible. More importantly, they fought like humans had always fought, as pack hunters who never gave up once the chase began. Dr. Elena Vasquez, monitoring the campaign from the International Space Station, watched in amazement as human forces reported victories across 12 star systems in the first month of operations. They are not just defeating the swarm, she told her colleague, Dr. Okafor. They are hunting them to extinction. The galactic community began to take notice when human ships appeared at the edge of Coalition space, escorting captured swarm bioships back to Earth for study. The aliens had expected humans to hide behind their defenses and hope for rescue. Instead, humans had declared war on the most dangerous force in the galaxy and were winning. High Protector Velthar received a priority. Transmission from the Coalition High Council 6 months after the Battle of Earth. Report to Kepler Station immediately. The Council requires a full briefing on human military capabilities. When Velthar arrived at the Coalition's regional headquarters, he found representatives from dozens of species, all asking the same question. How did a primitive species develop? Technology superior to ours without anyone noticing? They were never primitive, Velthar admitted to the assembled delegates. We made the mistake of judging their entire species based on their public technology. We did not realize they had been preparing for galactic warfare for decades, the Council's chief analyst, a Nexari energy being, flickered with confusion. But our surveillance showed limited space capabilities, primitive weapons, and no knowledge of advanced physics. They showed us what they wanted us to see, Velthar replied. While we watched their surface activities, they were building the most advanced military force in the galaxy in complete secrecy. They used our protection period to study us, study the swarm, and prepare for exactly what happened. The implications were staggering. Humans had not just defended themselves against the swarm, they had revealed themselves as the apex predators of galactic civilization. Admiral Lisa Chen, now commanding the human Deep Space Fleet, sent a message to Coalition space that would be remembered for centuries. To our galactic neighbors, the Void Swarm is no longer your concern. Humanity has taken responsibility for eliminating this threat. We suggest you give us room to work. The message was accompanied by sensor data showing human ships operating in 17 star systems simultaneously, systematically tracking down and destroying every trace of swarm presence. How many ships do they have? Whispered one of the Coalition. Delegates. Unknown, Velthar replied. We counted perhaps 50 human spacecraft during our observation period. Current estimates suggest they have deployed over 10,000 vessels, with production continuing at an unprecedented rate. The council session ended with a decision that would reshape galactic politics. The Coalition formally requested an alliance with humanity, offering them full membership and recognition as the galaxy's primary military force. Dr. Sarah Chen, now recognized as Earth's Director of Galactic Operations, accepted the alliance but with conditions that made it clear who was really in charge. Humanity will handle all military threats to galactic civilization, she announced during the formal ceremony. In return, we expect full access to Coalition technology, territory, and resources. Any species that cannot accept human leadership in military matters is free to leave Coalition space. No species chose to leave. They had seen what humans could do to their enemies, and none wanted to find out what humans would do to obstacles. The galaxy learned that the species they had dismissed as primitive children were actually the most dangerous predators in known space. Humans had used the Coalition's protection to study their enemies, prepare their weapons, and plan a campaign that would eliminate threats to galactic civilization permanently. The Void Swarm, which had consumed civilizations for thousands of years, was completely destroyed within 18 months of encountering.